There comes a time in your life where fitting in and being mediocre and not really progressing in life becomes scary, a disgusting thing. I think there comes a time in a lot of people's lives where just being nothing, of importance and not being the best version of yourself, it gets you anxious. It comes and gets you, keeps you up at night. And, I think for some people, this comes early on, and for others, it comes pretty late. Some might argue that it comes too late. It's 1 a.m. right now. I just left university. I just left the campus. I have a midterm tomorrow, so I needed to study. Studied for around, 11 hours today, alone. I've been doing this for a few years now. Of course, I have friends that I study with, consistently, but most of my time, most of my studies, and most of my work, these accounts that I'm making to try to help people, they're all done alone. They're my idea. And it's something that I pushed on myself. I think it's, truthfully, I think it's tragic that a lot of people won't really get the chance to experience real solitude. And by solitude, I don't mean, loneliness and just being alone in the sense of the word, but solitude as in deep in self-reflection and, the process of understanding who you are, the process of finding who you are through reflection, through discipline, and progress, improvement. We built all of this through constant progression. That's what it is. When we were hunting and in the woods and we needed, you needed to kill an animal to survive for at least another week, there was no option. You didn't have a choice to, stay in bed or go out there and hunt. It was do or die. And at this point, the strong survived. And what I think is happening is we've conditioned ourselves out of this do or die mentality, right? We're not really scared anymore. We're not really impatient to chase a better us, right? Because that's what it is. I feel this urge to become more, to become better, in all facets of the word. Progression. It's an urge. It's hard to explain. It's just that you want to be better and you want to, and I think that we've lost that. And truthfully, I think some people have it naturally. I know I didn't. Naturally, I'm somewhat of a lazy person. I used to I tend to, this was who I was, but even now it creeps in, but I tend to take the easy way out. Want to stay in bed. And, through years, and I'm not saying months, I'm saying years of solitude and of just trial and error and failing. It's hard. I can't even explain to you guys how many times I failed at things. And when I say fail, I don't mean starting a business and failing. I mean trying to get out of bed in the morning and going back to sleep for weeks on end, trying, and being harsh on myself. Harsh as in, it's hard to explain. Harsh on myself, putting pressure, getting anxious because I wasn't getting the results I wanted. Getting anxious because I wasn't perfect. And I know that, perfection doesn't really exist. But, at a certain extent, if you aim for perfection, if you aim for the stars, you might land on the moon, right? And you're still and if you land on the moon, you're still in space. You're there. Throughout these years of solitude, these failures, failing exams, failing classes, failed relationships, failed training. I've injured myself a few times. I've tried to start content creation a few times. I quit. I quit halfway through a marathon training after completing my first, not before. And throughout these failures, the outstanding lesson I've learned is to just keep going and keep getting better. Keep progressing. Sorry if this camera's not, I'm just walking right now. It's fucking so cold. But, I know I'm not very far into my journey of content creation, and I'm still figuring it out. And, it's still scary. Truthfully, it's kind of embarrassing to put myself out there. But I've been getting a lot of messages about people kind of wanting to do the same thing, but, asking me how. The how is not what you should be asking. Truthfully, there's no beating around the bush. You have to do it scared, and you have to expect that it won't be perfect. You have to strive you have to strive for perfection, but know that it's not possible. Does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense. I know these videos are not perfect, but I try to make them as good as possible, and I try to give you as much value as I can and reflect on what I want to say. If you want to start making videos and you're scared to do it, let me ask you, do you think there's going to be a moment where you're not scared? What does that moment look like? Is it after you watch a motivational video on Instagram? That little 15 seconds of dopamine you get? Is that what it looks like? if I can go back to the notion of progression, that's all it is. Progress. That's what I strive for. Even if I get slightly better, it's better than not better. That's my addiction. I feel addicted to progress, and sometimes it really fucks me up. I feel sometimes when I'm not doing anything right, I feel, and when I say anxious, I don't mean just like a little bit stressed. Sometimes I have panic attacks, anxiety attacks, because I don't feel like I'm doing enough. And being in engineering school, that feeling can creep up on you, and it's overwhelming because you can always do more, but there comes a time where you can't really do more. I actually have to fucking go study. It's 1 a.m., but I still have a little bit more to do. I have an 8:30 a.m. midterm. We'll see how it goes. But I wanted to make this video. I've been walking around the block. It's like -10 right now. My hand is numb, but I just wanted to make this video. Have a good week.